Nick Saban now live at the podium from the Rose Bowl. He's won himself a couple national championships, looking for number 7.
Thank you, Coach. We will now go to questions. Reminder, use the raise hand function if you'd like to ask a question. Our first question will come from Dennis Dodd. Dennis, go ahead.
It's football games.
I'm good, thank you.
There is no other story, just a winner.
All right, your next question.
All right, our next question will come from Chris Vanini. Chris, go ahead. Chris, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Alrighty, we'll come back to Chris. Our next question will go to Aaron Suttles. Aaron, go ahead.
Nick, the last few times you guys have played, the defenders have chosen to drop a lot of guys into coverage, sort of make you work down the field, but we've also seen you guys winning. Is there a comfortability knowing that you guys can play sort of any style that you need to win?
Well, I think you have to be able to play every style. I think that, if people get a beat on you in terms of, what is successful against you and you don't have answers for it, then everybody's going to do it and they're going to take, a lot of things away. I think the thing that was a little tough for us in the second half is we didn't run the ball very effectively in the second half. We wanted to try to take the air out of it, at the end of the game. Didn't have much success. They had the ball for almost the entire last 8 minutes of the game. And but we have to be able to finish, a little bit better, regardless of what style of defense anybody's going to try to play against us. And I'm sure we'll learn from it and hopefully do better the next time.
Alrighty, our next question will come from Stephen Smith. Stephen, go ahead.
Coach, first and foremost, congrats on the win. But one of the guys that stepped up was DeMarco Helms. What have you seen from him in the secondary this season, especially in the games where he's really come on?
Well, DeMarco has played well for us all year long. He just hadn't had, a lot of opportunities. DeMarco's a smart guy. He understands the system and the scheme. He's a good tackler. He's physical. And we knew that they were going to be a physical team, so, we chose to play him today a little bit more, and he did a really good job. So, but he's done a really good job in practice, and I think that's the key to the drill. And he deserved the opportunity to play, and I think he did a pretty good job for us today.
All right, our next question will come from Chris Daly. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Nick. Smitty had another dominant performance tonight. Do you think this cements his Heisman Trophy chances?
We love it when our players get recognized, and Smitty has done as much for our team as any player could do for any team. We're so happy that he was recognized as a college football player of the year. I don't get the opportunity to see all players play and really know exactly, what they've done for their team. I'd love to see another one of our players win the Heisman Trophy, and Smitty has done as much for our team as any other player who did win the Heisman Trophy, and they did a great job too. So, I just don't like to make predictions about things, and I love it when our players, get recognized, and it would be a tremendous honor for him if that happened.
Our next question will come from Mike Rodak. Mike, go ahead.
What was the explanation given to you for the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty at the end?
Oh, I was just, out on the field about 2 steps because I was yelling at one of our linebackers who didn't drop in the right direction, which I've done that pretty much all of my career. And it wasn't during a live ball. It wasn't. So, and I guess technically you're not supposed to do that. But I mean, look, I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I've been a head coach for 20-some years, and I've never been called for that. But I got called today, and I'll have to do better next time.
Our next question will come from Nick Hamilton. Nick, go ahead.
Congratulations on the win, Coach Saban.
Want to get your thoughts on just Patrick Surtain as far as what makes him so difficult and what makes him so swift as far as being in the secondary and be able to make those coverages and make those special plays.
Well, Patrick is got great size. He's got great speed. He's very instinctive. Very good athlete, can change the direction, good cover guy, and he's really smart. He does a great job of preparing for the game, so he really knows, what he has to do in a game to have success against whoever he's got to cover. We ask our corners to do a lot of bump and run, and him and Josh have both done a pretty good job, all year long. So Patrick has played phenomenally well for us, and good to see him get recognized tonight as a defensive player.
Our next question will come from Brett Hudson. Brett, go ahead.
To go back to opposing defenses kind of sagging back and playing a more conservative style of defense, what are some of the checks that Sarkisian has made to go against that, and how have the players executed those?
Well, I think when people play us that way, you got to take what the defense gives. Mac threw a couple check downs tonight, which become catch and run plays for you. They're not the big time explosive plays that we sometimes make, but they do keep the chains moving. I think Najee had a couple great catch and runs today. I think he dropped one. But I don't really think that there's anything from a style standpoint that is not something that we can attack, and that we'll have to attack it in the future. And when people play zone and they sag off, you got to throw the ball and take what they give. The key to the drill is if you don't get in long yardage situations, they don't really have the opportunity to do that, because you can't do that on 3rd and 4 or you still make a first down. So to have more positive plays on 1st and 2nd down so you don't get in long yardage situations, which we got in too many long yardage situations today, especially in the second half, and we didn't convert. So, but if we make those 3rd down and 4, 5, and 6, then it's hard to play that way and really stop them playing zone.
You heard him mention Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain II looking to follow in his papa's footsteps and get to the NFL. He was defensive MVP of the Rose Bowl. Alabama making its 5th national title appearance in 6 years, looking to win their 1st since 2017. Nick Saban, meantime, looking to capture his 7th national championship of his coaching career, which would pass fellow Alabama coaching legend Bear Bryant for the most ever by a head coach. And I don't know if you've ever heard the story before. Bear Bryant got his nickname Bear Bryant because he wrestled a bear at 13 years old. It's pretty amazing. By the way, I want to take you back here, guys. Back here with Brian McFadden, Barrett Sallee, Chip Patterson. They all know the story about Bear Bryant. But how about Brian Kelly? A little spicy there with our own big game, Dennis Dodd, about the question about the narrative being changed. And look, credit to Dennis for asking the question, because the narrative hasn't changed. They're 0-7 in BCS or New York 6 games since 1998. They're not going to change the narrative until they win games. I think they got closer today, making a step. B-Mac, I'll go to you first here. What's your reaction to that?
I love Big Game Dennis for coming up with that tough question. You know what I mean? Being extremely confident in what you're asking and trying to get the hard answers from Coach Kelly. But yeah, that's the narrative. That's what we do when you talk about sports. We talk about things that are consistent. If they're good or if they're bad. And right now in postseason play, the reality with Notre Dame is they have been bad. And remember, a few weeks ago, after the ACC championship game, I was extremely, a bit mind-boggling a little bit, to say the least, about Notre Dame getting in, because I had my reservations with their performance in postseason play. And the only positive thing that Notre Dame did today was cover. And last time I checked, when you talk about playing college football as a player, you want to win the ball game. But that was the bigger question going into this ball game. Will they cover the 19 points, which is a huge line for any team? Yes, they did cover, but they lost. It wasn't even a competitive ball game. Notre Dame made this ball game competitive with 3 minutes left to go in the 4th quarter, or 4 minutes, depending on who you're asking. So me personally, that's the reality of the situation. And you have to understand what the reality is, embrace it, and make it right. But what we know about Notre Dame, they can do everything they need to do in the regular season to get to a postseason opportunity. But recent history tells us in postseason play, they lay down like I used to lay down anytime I would run that 400 meters around the track and I'd be dog tired. I just lay all the way out. That's what Notre Dame has done in the most recent postseason visits. They just lay all the way out because that 400-meter run is a tough run. And tonight, it was a tough outing against the Crimson Tide.
A couple things stand out to me. Number one, this winless streak in big-time bowl games has gone on so long, it covers the lifespan of most of Notre Dame's players. And as Notre Dame continues to move forward and those players continue to be born later and later on into the 2000s now, that is only going to continue. Like, Notre Dame players on today's roster have lived their entire lives without seeing the Fighting Irish win in one of these big-time bowl games. I think that is significant. The second thing that really stands out to me is if we're going to give Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State the benefit of the doubt, because yeah, it's Alabama, it's Clemson, it's Ohio State, they're good. Well, that comes from years previous, and that comes from the kind of success that they've had in these kind of games, and that's why Notre Dame is going to continue to be saddled with this. And the third thing that really stands out to me is that Brian Kelly is also kind of right, because I don't know anybody that would be able to stop this Alabama team the way that they're playing right now. They're just so efficient and so surgical and so good at what they do and difficult to stop that even whoever wins between Clemson and Ohio State, I can tell you right now, I still think Alabama wins the Natty by double digits.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, Chip, because we still got to see what happens with Clemson and Ohio State. But look, Brian Kelly needs to change the narrative. And look, I think Chip hit the nail on the head. They have gotten a little bit better, but they have to be able to compete from a roster development standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint. You can't win a national championship these days if you're around 8 or 10 or 12 in the recruiting rankings. You got to consistently be in the top 5. And Notre Dame's not there. Alabama's there, Ohio State's there, Clemson's there, Georgia's there. LSU is there usually. So those are the teams that can actually win a national championship. So while, yes, Notre Dame has done a lot to get closer to being that powerhouse, those other teams are doing a lot of the same things to extend the gap. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that there really is no way for Notre Dame to shrink this down until they change that narrative. And you can't do it if you go out there and you get skull dragged like this. You have to find a way to follow through on the hope that you built in that first Clemson game. But in the end, in retrospect, I think you look at what happened against Clemson last time out and what happened against Alabama tonight, those are the teams that Notre Dame actually is. That they are that Notre Dame team. The one that beat Clemson in South Bend, that's the exception. That's the anomaly. And maybe, just maybe, that game happened because Clemson was so depleted on its defense.
All right, so Alabama making its 5th national title appearance in 6 years. Clemson looking to do the same, looking to make it 3 straight national title appearances. And if it's Clemson and Alabama, it'll be the 4th meeting in the title game in the last 7 years in the history of the college football playoff, which is pretty incredible to see both of those programs with such great consistency and sustained success over the years.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.